All right, welcome back to the second episode of the Frisky Risky podcast with your hosts, Tyler Zajac, and of course, the legendary Willy P. Today we have an awesome agenda, Willy, dude. We got some NBA, we got a little March Madness, a little NFL free agency, so much going on in sports right now. I love it. But first and foremost, dude, what I hear, pretty good night for you or day today with a little basketball action, man. What do we got?
Last night I didn't put it out on Twitter or any of the social because it was I'll be honest, it was purely an emotional bet that I made last night on my alumni of college, the Montana State Bobcats, and it was emotional because we were playing arch rival, the University of Montana Grizzlies, in the Big Sky Conference Championship game, and the Bobcats, long story short, have been pretty lackluster all year. And they somehow, figured it out in the tournament, made a run, and they ended up beating the Grizz by 15 last night and cashed them at 225 on the money line plus. Big dogs. They were 8-point dogs. And we hammered them and we cashed them. So I slept great, woke up and get to realize that my boys are going dancing again. They're probably going to be a 14 seed and play like Kentucky and just get blown out in the first round. But hey, we're 3-peat on the old Big Sky Conference, and I got some money in my pocket that's burning a hole in my pocket, and we got to spend it today on some NBA. So,
dude, I hear you're putting on them. I hear you're putting all your money on them to win, dude, the whole tournament.
Oh man, that would be. Oh man, if that happened, that'd be crazy. And if they maybe win it all depends. We'll see. I'm ready for Selection Sunday to kind of finally quit all the hypothetical talk and really get down to business. But we got some time, so that it'll be fun to get to that. But yeah, I mean, the NBA slate today's looking a little shicey, just like this March Madness.
Yeah, what do you got? What do you got for the peeps, man? What are we talking here?
We got my big games tonight. We got the Suns at your Celtics. Huge game. Celtics are a 6-point favorite. I like the Celtics on the spread. I'm not going to say don't take it. It's not my favorite pick, but I do like the Celtics, especially at home. They have obviously the best record at home in the NBA. They're the best team in the NBA record-wise. And I think after they've gotten punched in the mouth a little bit after last week when we were talking, it seems like they've kind of woken up again and they're ready to kind of close out this season strong.
You just like to bring that up every time, huh? If you remember last week when we were talking and the Nuggets, they beat the Celtics.
Look at what shirt I'm wearing. A little Denver Nuggets NBA champions with the boys on it. So, yeah, I'm going to keep riding that train until it dies for sure.
Wonderful.
But that's a big game tonight. I think it's on TNT. It's on national television. I think they're playing at 8. So it's going to be a big game. D-Book's also back finally now, and he's healthy. But the Suns are, up and down in terms of they're still kind of getting their chemistry together. I think they're still in a play-in spot, so that makes them interesting. The other big game, the second out of the third big game tonight is the Dallas Mavericks visiting the Oklahoma City Thunder in Oklahoma City. The Mavericks played last night. They won by 10. They had a big win on the road. But the big thing, and I was going to suggest maybe taking them on the spread because it was a big 11-point spread for the Mavs as dogs. But Luka Doncic is actually reported to not be playing tonight. So I'm completely fading that game in terms of the spread of the money line because I don't know. Kyrie Irving is going to be running that offense. He's a phenomenal player, but he statistically, actually, his stats go drastically down when Luka is not on the floor. So it seems as when he gets a little bit more of a workload, he kind of is less productive. So it's a big game tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if the Thunder kind of blew him out because, again, the Mavs are a little tired after a big win last night, and the Thunder have had a night off to get some rest, and they're at home. So
Mavs,
it's a big game.
Mavs
I wouldn't be surprised to see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander play well, but we'll see.
Mavs won last night, but they played Warriors with no Steph, right?
They did.
Yeah,
they did.
He's still out with that ankle.
Kyrie and Luka had big nights. I think Kyrie had like 11 assists or something, which is just crazy for him this year because he's kind of been floating around the 4 to 5 assists a game kind of deal. Luka's obviously the general of that offense. So he's definitely second fiddle, but we'll see what he does tonight. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close game, but again, I'm leaning much more towards the Thunder get up big early, and they're probably going to sit a lot of their guys since we're getting into the back half of the season and they're getting ready to try and make a playoff push. So, and then my final game of the night that I really, really like, and it's the Bucks. I think are too big of a favorite. They're a 7.5 point favorite against the Sixers at home. Giannis was listed as questionable, but I did check right before we got on, and he is expected to play tonight. So I would take the Bucks. Um, if you want to take them in a money line, they're going to be pretty under. The value isn't really there. They're probably around two. I think they're around 250. They're a pretty heavy favorite tonight. But I mean, that's going to be a big game. Honestly, I could see Tyrese Maxey having a big game. I like his over prop for threes. It's 2.5 for some odd reason, and he's just been scorching from the 3-point arc. He's hit that in his last 6 out of 10. So I would hammer Maxey on the over threes for sure. I feel really, really good about that pick. Looking at our slate for tonight. So, yeah.
There you have it, dude. There's the picks. A little frisky, a little risky, little bit of everything there from Willie P. And remember, these are only a few of them. Willie's throwing them out all over social. So you go on Twitter, follow us on Twitter. You get a bunch of his picks, win a bunch of money. I mean, who doesn't want to win a bunch of money? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And I got some more for later. I just don't want to give everybody all they need to get a little work before they get the fruit. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So you got to stick around. I'm not just going to give you everything right in the first 5 minutes. That would just be silly. So, and who doesn't want to watch us have a great conversation for a good half hour to 45 minutes?
Dude, especially with everything going on right now, every sport, everything going on. I mean, it's
a crazy weekend. I mean, we got March Madness about to start. NBA and NHL are about to be in the playoffs. We also got the Players Championship that kicked off today. Rory McIlroy's in the lead for the first time in who knows how long. He's finally playing some good golf. So it's a crazy. We got a big couple of weeks ahead of us here, which will be sweet.
Oh yeah,
so,
we got
and the Masters is right around the corner.
Masters around the corner. We got free agency. We got draft coming up. We got. I mean, it's every sport right now in full swing, dude.
We should have a whole nother podcast just for what's been going on in this NFL free agency, because it has just been, me and you have been texting back and forth all week, and it has just been, I mean, you said this is the craziest you've seen it in a long time, maybe if not ever.
I feel like it's wilder than normal, man. I feel like there's so many big names just up in the air, switching teams, going from, going to their arch nemesis, just switching straight over. And
yeah,
let's talk about a few. Let's talk about a few of these winners and losers, man. I'm going to start us off, and I don't know if people also watch our Health Matters podcast on the predictors. If you do, you're about to get a double dose of Tyler Fury here, because I went off this morning on it. But Kirk Cousins making $100 million guaranteed and 180 total at 36 years old, coming off an Achilles tear, is insane to me. That amount of overspending. Listen, I know that a lot of people said he was the number one free agent on the market, which, first of all, how is he number one with all of the other guys that were on free agency? Plus, you're even thinking about Justin Fields leaving, things like that. You have Kirk Cousins as your number one free agent to leave. What I don't get is he has won one playoff game. The same people who are touting how great this is for the Falcons and how, Kirk Cousins is going to, lead Pitts and Bijan and Drake London and the Falcons to this, this offense to above and beyond, are the same people that are crushing the Cowboys, which, don't get me wrong, the Cowboys have been dead silent, and we're going to talk about that here in a second, but that are crushing the Cowboys for winning 12 games a season and not doing anything in the playoffs. Well, what's he doing in the playoffs? I mean, if you're just trying to get 10 wins on a season or 11 wins, then sure, maybe he's your guy. But if you're trying to win playoff games, I don't know how you can justify the bag that he just got, especially at his age and coming off that injury. It's crazy to me. I don't know. Maybe I'll eat words.
The first thing I got to say about that whole situation is whoever his agent is, I bet he's getting more phone calls about new clients to represent in the past 24 hours since that contract broke than any agent ever. And I mean, that guy, I don't know who he is, where he went to school, and how he learned to do deals, but my God, he should run our country.
Dude, he's the first.
It's
Was he the
outstanding.
agent? Was he the agent when Cousins got the first guaranteed contract too, fully guaranteed from the Vikings?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean,
And that's what's funny is that this is not the first time that he's done this. And I remember when he was a free agent a couple of years ago, and the Broncos had an opportunity to kind of go for him. And I at first was like, let's do it. And then he signed that deal with the Vikings. And I was like, oh man, I'm glad we're not paying him that much money. He's not worth that much. And I don't know. And I get I get that Desmond Ritter is not doing it and isn't a long term solution, but I don't. I
dude,
quarterback's the most important position on the team, but you also need to be able to pay other guys. Like it's not like he's good. Again, like you said, he is not good enough to carry that team to win Super Bowls or even get to the playoffs. I love how the Falcons are bitching about the Cowboys winning 12 games and then winning one game in the playoffs. Atlanta, when's the last time you went to the playoffs? That Super Bowl run where you blew it?
yeah.
Like, come on.
Dude, it is. It's. I just. Oh, dude, I can go on about this for days, and I don't want to. I don't want to continue to rant, but it is atrocious. Honestly, I mean, he also at Minnesota had arguably the best receiver in the league to throw to. Arguably, maybe arguably. I mean, I don't even know if it's arguably. He is the best receiver in the league to throw to, and now, yeah, he has some weapons. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to compare Drake London or even Kyle Pitts to Justin Jefferson. I mean, that is worlds apart right now. And so I'm interested. Hey, listen, maybe I'm sitting here end of next season and I'm like, wow, I'll eat it. I'm an idiot, but it just, I don't see that happening right now, but interested to see how it
You know,
goes.
you know what I like, man? I love trends. And he has a pretty solid, consistent trend of not doing well in the playoffs. So I'm with you. I will eat my words if I have to next February, but I have a firm belief that maybe they'll make the wild card or maybe they win 9 games. But again, they're not to say that he could completely turn that franchise around that quickly. There's no way, and I just don't. It's gonna show in other aspects of that team for sure because they're not gonna be able to pay other quality guys because they're giving him $100 million. Like
Yeah. Yep.
so I mean the next big I mean I'm just come next. It's really segues into the next. My big talking one was Justin Fields, is because I thought he was going to go to Atlanta. It seemed like it was a done deal, especially after Russell Wilson went to the Steelers. And now it's like, what do you do?
Yeah, dude,
And I've
that's
kind of
tough.
heard people murmuring. They're like, maybe the Bears keep Fields, play him, but they still draft Caleb Williams and let him sit, and maybe Justin Fields has a good year, and then at the end of the year you dish him for a bunch of picks or something, get a haul for him. It makes sense, but it also seems a little shisty to me.
Well, it's that's
What
also
do you think
tough on
about that?
Fields, right? I mean, you've talked this
Yeah,
whole offseason about how you're going to let him go and he's going to go somewhere else and then you
yeah.
keep him. That's you talk about doing right by the players and who was it? I think it was Josh Jacobs came out and he's like, all these guys, everyone's talking about how, players are going to these other teams and Tiki Barber came out on Saquon's like you're dead to me and
Oh,
all these things. And Josh Jacobs, like everyone's talking about loyalty. Well, what about the team's loyalty to us after we've given them the time? And maybe this is that same type of thing, right? I mean, Fields to me, this is my opinion, but Fields to me, I don't think Fields is a bad quarterback. The Bears are a I'm going to get some flack for this. The Bears have been a freaking poverty franchise, dude. They don't know how to develop a quarterback, and they've shown that over the past few years. And so I can't put it all on Fields. I mean, when Fields goes off, he goes off, dude. It's not like he doesn't have it in him. And you got to get guys, the weapons around them. You got to develop them, and you got to get them good defenses and things like that. And I just don't know if they've done the best job they could. I would say they haven't with Fields. As simple as that.
100%. And not to get completely off this topic, but of course, to really show again how crazy this off season and free agency has been. As we've been talking, Schefter just said that Sam Howell just got traded to the Seahawks, so that's crazy. He's not a huge name, but again, Drew Lock just went to the Giants, which I thought was kind of weird after the season he had with the Seahawks, and he won him that primetime game and was showing that he actually might be competent. Now, obviously they're getting ready to get rid of Geno, or they're seeing him on the way out. But
the Giants are just
with Fields. I don't.
I'm with you.
Ahead, sorry.
The Giants are. I feel like they're just trying to put some pieces there just to hang in games and hope that their defense wins them. I mean, that seems like what they're trying to do.
Yeah, they're another garbage organization. Excuse me. I know they've won Super Bowls and whatever, but at least since they had Eli and what was that coach? What was their old coach's name? The old short guy with glasses. Coughlin. Yeah. Ever since then, they've lost their identity of what they are as a team. And I get why Saquon wanted to leave that team, man. They overpaid excuse my French, but crappy quarterback and Daniel Jones, way too much money. And now they're getting ready to get rid of him. And yeah, Saquon got a bag. Also, they didn't want to pay him. And I get it, man. The Eagles offered him a great deal. And now he has a chance to go compete for that division and maybe win a Super Bowl, which I totally get. So,
oh yeah, man. I would put them as a winner. I put the Eagles as a winner in free agency, man. They 100%. Tag Saquon, and now, I mean, Saquon. We talked a little bit about it in our other podcast, but a lot of people talk about his injuries, and he had the ankle this year. He's had ankle injuries in the past. I equate him to a Christian McCaffrey though type situation. When McCaffrey was at the Panthers, he got overused, chronic injuries, was always hurt. You put him on a good offense that has other options, and that you don't have to rely on him to carry that load game in and game out. I think that that is going to be huge for him. I think he isn't injured as much. I think they have a real chance now if their defense can perform. Their offense is loaded. I mean, you got Jalen Hurts, who can do it both in the air or on the ground himself. You got Saquon in the backfield. You got A.J. Brown. You got Devontae Smith. I mean, they got some weapons there now, man. That is a good offense. I bet Jason Kelce is kicking himself because he's going to want to be a part of that. But, that's their winners right now in free agency in my book.
How does that – could he be like, psych, I'm just kidding, I'm coming back?
Brady did it, right?
Said, can you – I don't know how that works, because I saw the other day he was like, wow, of course, the year I decide to retire, we get Saquon Barkley. And yeah. Can he do that? Can he come back?
I don't see why not.
He sign the paperwork and – yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's actually legit, but I was just surprised to see him say that. And I was like, well, is he going to change his mind? Because I guess Brett Favre did it 4 times or whatever.
Yeah, dude. So. Brady did it. Yeah, I mean, you can come back. I think you can unretire. I mean, think about even Edelman and Gronk were like, oh, maybe we should come back. I mean, they've all done it. So, or at least talked about it.
I didn't know if you just had to wait a year or something, or what the timeline was, just because he just did it. But
I think it depends what's left on your contract with those teams. Like if you were to come back, you may have to go back to the team that you retired from. You can't just jump teams, things like that.
Sure. Yeah, because then dudes would just retire and unretire if they didn't want to be wherever, if they could do that. But I think I saw the other day when Saquon signed with the Eagles, the Eagles to win the Super Bowl, if you bet them right now, or their opening odds are, I think, plus 1,700, or I think they opened at plus 2,400, and now they're at plus 1,700. So Vegas likes them too, man. Vegas likes what they're doing, and I was talking to my buddy about it the other day because he actually has Saquon in a dynasty league. And he was like, I hope he gets more touches and, gets some goal line touchdowns, but we probably won't because he's on the Eagles. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Jason Kelce isn't there anymore. And he was like, yeah. So I was like, well, that's the reason why the tush push worked. And they talked about it all year, is oh, if you didn't have Jason Kelsey under center leading the charge, this wouldn't work, because we saw plenty of teams try and do it and replicate it, and they couldn't do it. And now that Jason Kelsey's there, I'm curious to see how much the Eagles continue to use that, especially now that the league knows, oh, these guys love to do this when they're on the 2 or the 1, you know? It'd be interesting to see if Saquon starts to get more goal line touches, and maybe if they transition away from that or not. I don't know.
Dude, if I'm the Eagles, I'm still doing the tush push, but I'm doing it with basically just Saquon taking the snap, dude. I'm practicing all
Yeah,
camp.
Wildcat direct
I'm
snap.
just
Fuck yeah.
yeah, all camp with him,
That's
not lined up like 3 yards back, just right under center. He's just getting lined up, and we're
yeah,
practicing that over and over again so he could take those snaps and just push it right in with, don't tell me Jason Kelsey didn't tell the next center up how he did it and practice that.
totally.
And the next center didn't practice
Totally.
that in case Kelsey got hurt. And
Mhm.
they know what they're doing. And if you could put Saquon there and just take that, though, I mean, I guess I mean, Hurts so good at it. Maybe you don't do that, but then you at least take the chance
He
away
did
from
get
getting hurt and stuff.
he was pretty banged up all last year, though, and
He had
I
that
don't think
knee
it's purely
injury.
because they were
Yeah.
doing that all the time, but it could help mitigate his wear and tear for sure.
Yeah.
And now that you're saying direct snap to Saquon, all I'm thinking about is a direct snap to Derrick Henry in Baltimore, because
Oh, dude.
that's a scary, scary backfield. Now that's crazy to me that
Yeah.
he's there, because that is what they've needed, is a solid running back. Gus Edwards was very serviceable last year. He did great. I feel really bad for J.K. Dobbins because he just never actually got a real run to show what he could do. But them signing, I think the Eagles and the Ravens have made the 2 biggest moves in free agency to really solidify their title as a contender. And I remember when 2 days ago when you texted me about this, you were would you ask me? You want to tell everybody what you asked me?
Uh, dude, I'm just saying I'm in California, so my betting is very limited. So
No, there's no
I was like,
shame.
I may need you to put some money down. But dude, I am telling you, Derrick Henry going to the Ravens. I love the Ravens as a favorite to win the Super Bowl early right now. I think the Ravens have the pieces there. Um, Losing Patrick Queen is tough, but um,
Mhm,
their offense now, if they can stay healthy, and that's the biggest part with the Ravens. The Ravens have actually, if you look back, been good for a couple years now, but their banged up scores have been horrendous up until last year.
mhm,
And when they were
mhm,
healthy last year, especially Lamar, but they even had, they were without Mark Andrews for much of last year, but they were
mhm,
relatively healthy. And years before that, Lamar was injured. You had Hollywood Brown on the team, and he was injured a bunch. Zay Flowers has
mhm,
been injured. They've all, and then obviously J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards. I mean, their injuries, you know, they've actually had a pretty decent team, but injuries have held them back. So if they can stay
mhm.
healthy, that team is scary, man. They have the pieces on offense to put points up anytime during the game in a lot of different ways now. And so I'm interested to see, and I mean, you flip it over to their defense, and their defensive line is strong, and then you have
Mhm.
Marlon Humphrey out in the secondary. So it's not like that's a strong team, dude. I like them as a favorite this year. Honestly, I think they're good if they can stay healthy, because that's always their Achilles heel. No pun intended.
And they made a big move actually right before we got on to shoot this, and they released OBJ, which I don't have any
You
problem.
you said that right after the playoffs. Your big thing. I remember you texted me and you said, "Dude, they have a squad, but I just don't think OBJ is that receiver. They need one more receiver in his place."
They
And
need
look at you,
someone to
just be
help Zay
GM, dude.
Flowers.
Just be GM.
Dude, I wish. I mean, yeah, and I really wanted them to go get Mike Evans at the beginning of
What about
free
Mike
agency, but
Williams?
they
If he
just,
stays healthy, could you think he could be a good
man,
piece there?
I mean, he's a great deep threat. Zay Flowers is obviously, he's kind of your up the middle of the field slot kind of, he's smaller, speedier. He kind of reminds me of a poor man's Tyreek Hill. Um, He's not
Tyreek
as much
Hill?
of a deep
Yeah.
threat. Mike Williams is that deep threat that could be a great piece. I'm just curious to see. I don't know how much cap space I know they don't have a lot. I just don't know the exact number. So I'm curious to see maybe Mike Williams, if he goes over there, maybe take a smaller contract size or something because
I wonder if you
he's
could
yeah. I
I wonder
mean,
if you could tie him down because of the injuries. I mean, he's coming off an ACL, so, you have that kind of, uh question mark with his name. The year before, he had a back fracture, right? He had a high
mhm,
ankle sprain that he came back and then retweaked. So, I mean, he has shown to have some injury issues. So, I think he's going to be taking a smaller contract from that alone. Um,
totally.
and maybe that helps the Ravens. Maybe they get kind of a
Yeah.
diamond at at, at a price that they can afford there.
They need something. They need something because Lamar is a two-time MVP. He's the most electric player when he's on. But we saw it against the Chiefs when he didn't have options and people to get the ball to. He struggled a lot, and yeah, that's just kind of his the easiest way to wrap up his playoff resume so far is he just hasn't had the weapons that he can get the ball to. He can't do everything like you with Saquon. He can't carry this team night in and night out and expect to make deep runs and all this other stuff. But yeah, if they could get someone like Mike Williams or just any bigger body wide receiver that's more of a deep threat downfield, that would be huge for that team because they have literally everything else. It's pretty remarkable how well that front office has done, and especially with I always say his name wrong. I always botch it. Their D tackle they just signed him for a huge deal. It's Udabike.
Yeah.
I think
I'm going to say it wrong too.
he's a
So I'm just
stud.
going to keep my
He's an
mouth shut.
absolute stud. Yeah, I always my buddy that's a big Ravens fan always gives me crap because I always butcher it, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say it, and I need to sit down and learn it, but whatever. But my other big free agent one, we talked about it a little bit last week, but obviously Russell Wilson going to the Steelers and the Broncos having to pay him $38 million to not be on their team is just sickening,
Dude,
absolutely sickening.
if there's a loss, it's the Broncos. Freaking Russell Wilson, you get up with Judy. Not that Judy performed like he should have, but God,
First round pick.
that's brutal. That is a brutal team to follow
But would
right
we
now.
take him? I think we took him in the top 10.
Oh
I
yeah.
think we took him at like
I'd
4.
hate I'd
We took
hate
him
to
at like
be a
4 or 5.
Denver fan, and it must be so hard for those Denver fans
Oh
out
man.
there.
Well, I just want to know. I was kind of hoping maybe we do something shisty and go get like Gardner for a year or two, but then the Raiders did
I
that. And
know,
I'm like, God.
dude.
So we're gonna draft. If we, I already know it. I can feel it in my loins that we're gonna draft JJ McCarthy, and I'm just gonna be sad. So
I can't wait to text you when
I
it
don't know.
happens.
And or him, it's either gonna be him or Bo Nix, and I don't want a.
Dude.
How old's Bo Nix?
Bo Nix,
28, 29?
you're gonna fire me up, dude. Bo Nix, that's another person that people are so all over. I don't think he's that good. He at Oregon, first of all, he's terrible at Auburn. Then he gets to Oregon, and oh man, Bo Nix, that. There were so many routes that his receivers made him look so good. They were little dump offs that they
Right.
just freaking the yard after catch had to be ridiculous. I actually look up that stat, but it, it's he. I don't think he's going to transfer well over to the NFL. I just don't. I don't think he's going to end up being that guy.
Yeah, he did. He did lead the FBS in completion percentage last year. I think it was like 78%. It was a pretty eye popping number. But again, like you said, the yards after catch. Oregon runs a very West Coast quick style offense. They do a lot of dump offs, a lot of check routes. They don't. They go downfield, but they're not looking downfield every play.
Yeah.
It's not like an air raid offense. They like to spread the field and do a lot of stuff near the line of scrimmage. And yeah,
I can appreciate that as a
I would
Brady
be
fan and as a Patriots fan. I mean, he was a quick release, a lot of slot stuff.
totally.
And
Totally.
that's how he made, who he was. I mean, obviously he could throw a good an accurate deep ball, I should say. Maybe not the farthest deep ball, but an accurate deep ball. But
Mhm.
I can maybe it's just a scheme thing. Maybe if Bo is in the right scheme, then maybe he surpasses all expect. Maybe he gets in a 49ers type scenario where you can, drag and drop a little bit. I know I'll take some flack for that, but maybe that's the type of thing he needs. I mean, who knows? Maybe he proves me wrong. I like to be proven wrong.
It's
I
just
like people to
crazy
succeed.
too. Oh yeah, me too. But again, I don't know. People's resumes and careers speak for themselves, and that's our job to try and interpret it. So
Yeah.
again, I'd love to see Kirk Cousins just prove me wrong and wear a bunch of iced out chains with Quavo and Atlanta, but I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. But I'm just looking at all these major moves for free agency, and I'm just quickly counting how many of these players just flopped in their division, and that is the biggest thing to me. Just CJ Gardner Johnson going back to the Eagles after he said that fan base is atrocious
I
is
know.
hilarious.
He's also coming back after a
Armad,
pretty bad pec injury. I know he came back last year, but he was on IR for a long time. So
yeah. Poyer to the Dolphins is crazy to me, just because he's a solid free safety, and I am surprised that they let him go. And I'm sure Josh Allen does not want to see him 2 times a year. So, and now he has to, which is ridiculous. Patrick Queen and the Steelers, like you said, that's crazy. But Patrick Queen now also has to see Derrick Henry 2 times a year. So it's a very,
oh yeah.
pick your poison. And what was that last? I mean, Saquon to the Eagles is outrageous.
Dude, the fact that they let that happen, and the fact that the Commanders got Eckler, and
Crazy.
they have Eckler. You got Saquon on the Eagles, right? And then meanwhile, and then the Giants are making their moves, and then you look at the Cowboys, and they're just doing nothing. What did they re-sign their long snapper? Wow, that's after Jerry Jones comes out and says we're all in. All in is doing nothing. Dude.
Yeah, what are they waiting for?
What are we doing? I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I talked to my brother-in-law who is a massive Cowboys fan, has been his whole life. And I'm like hoping he's not ready to jump off a ledge, dude. And the sad part is he's not ready to jump off a ledge. He's like, what did you expect? It's the Cowboys. And that is a sad state of affairs when you get to that point.
At least he's not delusional, because Cowboys fans are the most delusional fan base. And I'm glad that he's a realist and understands, and that's what's funny about being a Denver's fan and just listening to some of these guys on the Denver talk radio. Some of them are so delusional about the Broncos. And I'm like, we're in the shit. Like, we are 5 to 7 years down the tubes. Like, it's going to be a long process, whatever. And, they're saying it is interesting too. And I will die on this hill that Jerry Jones does not need to run that goddamn team anymore.
Oh yeah.
He is the reason why they are the way they are. And he needs to get a GM. He should go get Lou Riddick from ESPN. That dude would turn that team into a Super Bowl team in a season. Anybody but him.
Oh yeah.
But I just don't know what are they waiting for? I get they have a great team and maybe they need another offensive lineman, but why wouldn't you even try and go get another defensive piece to help out Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs, who's coming off a big injury, and Deron Bland, who had a great year leading the league in interceptions. Like, why don't you – your team is obviously good enough to win 12 games and get to the playoffs, but it's not good enough to get over this hump that you guys haven't been able to get over since Troy Aikman. It's crazy.
Dude, it's crazy too when you look at the salaries of these guys too. I think what did I see that freaking Dak Prescott, his cap hit is like $59.4 million or something. And Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon is 36.3 combined.
Whoa.
It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
That's outrageous. That's a hell of a sack.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You would think too, right? Jerry Jones is a great businessman. Like that, there's no question. They're the most profitable and, the best franchise in the history of sports in terms of how much they're worth. They're worth what, $4 billion or something
I think it's
like
more
that?
than that.
More than that. Oh, you're right, because I think the Broncos sold for like $4 billion or whatever. But anyway, they're worth a lot of money, and you would think that Jerry Jones would see that stat and be like, oh, we got to make some sort of change. You know what I mean? But
Dude,
no, he just keeps paying.
I think
Oh,
they
man.
have. I think Dak Prescott has. I know he was before Kirk Cousins, but I think he got the Kirk Cousins effect, where when they see him win 12 games or 10 games or 11 games, they're like, if they're getting that pretty soon, they're going to start winning playoff games. Like pretty soon, it's going to happen. Like if they can win in the regular season, they, it's just they're early, they're young, and they say that for a couple years, and then it's like, boom, pay this man because he's going to get there, and it's going to be all worth the investment. And then all of a sudden, it's not. And then it's like all the fans are, what the hell's going on? Why aren't we winning games? And now you're like, well, now we're stuck because we paid him so much. And that's the problem. And a lot of contracts now are guaranteed money, right? It used to not be that way. Now it's guaranteed money.
Yeah.
So they're getting caught. And teams are going to have to start changing up strategies because it's gotten to a point where it's so much money and it's guaranteed money, and they get caught in a corner when players don't perform or they get hurt. It's
Yeah,
tough.
look at the Broncos with Russell Wilson. We're paying $38 million this year for him to be in a Steelers uniform, and that's because he got all that guaranteed money.
Yeah.
And we had to do it, and that's what's crazy. It's kind of like college sports with NIL right now. I mean, Nick Saban quit because he's like, all these kids care about is how much money they're going to make.
Yeah.
And I get that. I totally get that. But the landscape has changed a lot, and it's crazy to see just these contracts and how it's changing the sport very, very quickly. Well, and even last year, nobody wanted to pay a running back, and now this year, all these running backs are getting paid. Not saying it's bad that they are, but it's so. Last year was, they're a dime a dozen. You don't need to do this. You don't need to do that. Now all these guys are getting 3-year deals for $24 million, and it's awesome. And it's like, what changed in less than a year?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. It's an interesting trend. Everything flows, ebbs and flows, man, ebbs and flows. Well, let's take a look at a little March Madness action, man. I know we obviously this is just a pre, what your thoughts are, because obviously we'll do a little bit more next week once we have Selection Sunday here. We know a little bit more. We'll probably have a whole episode about March Madness, essentially.
We should. Yeah.
But what are your initial thoughts here? What do you like that you're seeing? Who do you think may stumble a little bit? What do we got?
I mean, again, no matter how they do in their conference tournaments, we talked about it before. UConn beat Xavier today. UConn beat them by 25 or something. Just rolled them. UConn, everybody says it's so hard to repeat. Nobody does it. I don't know. I'm not saying they're a lock to win, but they're as close of a thing in my mind as you can be. Their starting five is out of this world. They're deep. They're one of the deepest, if not deepest, teams in college basketball, and have the best coach in Dan Hurley. UConn's going to be a lot. They already are a lock at the 1 seed, and it really depends on who they it falls into their bracket. But give them some trouble if they maybe face get into a region with a couple Mountain West teams or a couple Big 12 teams. That could be very interesting to see because those have been two of the best conferences in college basketball this year. The Mountain West with like Colorado State, Nevada, UNLV, Boise State, New Mexico, all these smaller, programs, they've performed well this year, and they actually statistically did better than the ACC. So not any Mountain West team, but I would the Mountain West tournament is going on right now in Vegas as we speak, and it's it's a kind of a crapshoot, honestly. That the teams in that conference are they played each other tight all year, and Colorado State actually plays Nevada tonight, and they are underdogs, even though they've had a better record than Nevada all year. But Nevada has actually beaten them both times this year, and I was at the game in Colorado State when Nevada beat them on a buzzer beater, which was crazy. So I do like Colorado State if they make it. They are a bubble team, and they really, if they lose tonight, they won big last night. They were a big favorite against San Jose State. But if they lose tonight, they could very well be on their way out of the tournament, which is something interesting to see. Another big bubble team is Michigan State. And Michigan State's been playing well in the tournament. They play Minnesota tonight, who's actually, they finished the year best team against the spread in college basketball. I actually made a lot of money from them earlier in the season. They went on a heater where they hit at one point they were 23-3 against the spread, and they'd cover against any team no matter what. But Michigan State has actually turned it on, and they have their historic coach and Tom Izzo, who's they call him Mr. March because all that dude does in March is win. So if Michigan State wins tonight, I have a really good feeling they honestly could win the Big Ten tournament, and then again, they'll probably have to beat Purdue in the championship to do that. And
Well, knowing Purdue, they'll
you know,
lose way before that. So,
well, that's what's funny is that's what's so funny about Purdue is they are such a good team in the regular season, and they're obviously going to be a 1 seed. They don't even, they could lose by 50 in their game in any game in the Big Ten tournament, and it wouldn't matter. They'll still be a 1 seed. But as we've seen the last couple of years, they're pretty fraudulent in the first round. And
dude,
I'm really, really curious to see how Edey performs because he's been on this stage. He's been here. He's had his heart broken multiple times. And I'm wondering, he's going to be the AP Player of the Year again. Did he learn anything? I don't know.
Dude, I have no idea. That team just makes me mad every year because every year I look at them like same thing, right? I'm like, man, they just every year they blow. It's got to be this year, right? It's got to be like a Virginia, be the first 1 seed to lose to 16 and then come through the next year and win the whole thing. Like they gotta just do it, right? And then every year they blow it again. And you know what's going to happen is this year I'm going to be like, no, they're going to blow it, and then they're going to go and do it. That's what's going to happen. It's going to piss me off.
I was going to say, I feel like a lot of people, I would not be surprised if ESPN, after the first day says, oh, all of these brackets picked Purdue to lose in the first round and they're going to beat whatever 16 seed they play by 50, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's going to be the thing to bust brackets is everybody's going to keep this trend of Purdue sucking. I don't think Purdue is going to lose in the first round.
I don't think
I honestly think they could get to a Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. I still, though, do not think I forget their head coach's name, but something about that head coach, he just cannot get it done in the clutch, and that speaks volumes to me. So, Purdue's going to be interesting. Tennessee also, they're solid.
I mean,
they're going to.
That's hard for me to say.
Solid all year.
It's hard for me to say as an Alabama alum, but Tennessee, they look good.
They look good, and Houston's also a wagon. Houston is. I would maybe sprinkle some money to have Houston win the whole thing. They look solid. They have great defense like every year, but their defense, especially this year, is efficient and they can kind of stop any offense when they want to.
Yeah.
And they play in a very tough Big 12 conference. I think the Big 12 is sending like 7 or 8 teams to the tournament this year, and the Mountain West is sending 6 or 7. It's ridiculous how well these conferences have done and how tight it has been.
How about thoughts on North Carolina? I had them. They beat Duke twice this year.
They beat Duke twice this year. I think Duke is pretty fraudulent. Filipowski's a great player. Don't get me wrong. He'll probably be a lottery pick in the NBA, and his game should translate well. And blah 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 blah. Right now, I don't think Duke is that good. I mean, they have players, but in terms of what Shire wants, John Shire, their head coach wants, I just don't. They haven't impressed me enough this year, and you got to at least win one of those UNC Tobacco Road rivalry games, and they just didn't.
Yeah.
So I think UNC is a pretty solid team. They're obviously very deep. They have Armando Bacot, who's been there for 18 years, not actually, but he's been there for forever, and he's a solid inside player. What is their RJ Davis, their starting point guard, is one of the best players in the country. He should be a top 10, maybe top 5 pick. He's phenomenal. I could see UNC making a run for sure. Hubie Davis is a great coach, and they seem to be a lot more cohesive than Duke. So I wouldn't be surprised to see UNC maybe go to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. It's hard for me to say that they're going to make a deep run, and that's the beauty of this is that we can hypothetically talk about whatever as much as we want, but at the end of the day, it's easier to win the lottery than it is to pick a perfect bracket. So, a big team that I'm kind of keeping my eye on is the team that won the Mountain West for the first time this year in Utah State. They're a solid team. They're sneaky. They score a lot of points in bunches, and they play really good defense. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them kind of make their way out of their region, maybe get to the Sweet 16, Elite 8. And who knows, if they keep it hot, they could be the San Diego State of last year and maybe make a crazy run. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the scores right now, and USC was keeping it close with Arizona. Arizona's been a solid team all year. They have the old UNC point guard and Caleb Love, who's a great player, but he has also kind of struggled this year. He's if you watched any Arizona games this year, he definitely runs that offense and really likes to run it, and honestly takes too many shots, in my opinion. And I don't know if he's trying to get his draft stock up or what. He's a great player, but Arizona is they're good, but they've shown a lot of holes, which is interesting. So it's going to be. I think there always are a lot of upsets, but for some reason I could see some weird first couple of days of March Madness this year, and we see a lot of lower seeds winning some games they shouldn't, for
Yeah,
sure.
it
So,
always ends up like that, man. It's pretty fun to do a bracket and then watch it just get absolutely obliterated in the first couple days.
oh yeah, and then that's why I love ESPN the best, just because you can see everyone. You can look at every bracket that's been entered in the app, and you'll see. I always love checking after every day whose bracket's still perfect, because there still are perfect brackets, and then you see it's like last year when people picked Furman over Virginia. It's like, who's picking that? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
sure enough, 10,000 people picked that, and you're just like, how did It's just so. It's crazy to me how that works. Or like St. Peter's, I think they went to the Sweet 16 last year. I think the Peacocks,
Yeah.
Sweet 16 or maybe something like that. I know they made it out of the first two rounds and they made a run, but
Yeah, with St. Mary's too, right? They did it. I think it
yeah,
was.
no.
Yeah.
So and St. Mary's beat Gonzaga in the WCC championship. So St. Mary's is going to be a pretty high seed, and they look good. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a run. I mean, there's a lot of, I don't know. I'm ready to see the bracket. I just want to see the bracket so I can start crunching numbers. But it's all right. We're getting close. And the conference tournaments have been fun to watch. There's a lot of good ones on tonight. Finally, the SEC tournament started today, so that'll be fun to watch. Big Ten's been going on. Big game. I don't even know what that game is at, but Iowa was playing Ohio State, which was a big matchup to kind of. They've been kind of both up and down teams all year, but.
Yeah, we got
Arizona's beating USC by 20. So everything I just said about Arizona might be false. Oh, there you go. There you go. Michigan State beat Minnesota by 10. So they're continuing to roll on. And yeah, okay. Never mind. Ohio State and Iowa play at 4:30 Mountain Time. So they're getting ready to tip off here in a little bit. But
perfect. Great
yeah,
game
no,
to
it's
watch.
been. I'm ready to just watch basketball for 4 straight days. That's
Lock it down. Stay on the couch, just following
down.
scores and writing down notes for next week's show.
That's it. Yeah.
Well,
and there's always that one, whatever team makes a weird run, the Cinderella run, they always have that one guy that has a funny mustache or a funny name, or he grew up in a cornfield and learned how to shoot with cement blocks, or you know what I mean.
You gotta get the story.
Like,
it's all about the story. It's all about the story.
Oh, 100%. It's at the end of the day, it's entertainment, and CBS and TNT and all those guys love to create a narrative for sure.
Oh yeah.
So
well, before we go, give the people another pick or two for your slate here. What are leave us with something good here before we end.
So I'll give you 2 that I really like and feel good about, and then I'll give you a couple plus money friskies you want to sweat a little bit, maybe
a couple of risky picks.
Yeah. So for our frisky, I really like the Suns and Celtics over 225 total points. Even if Jaylen Brown is not playing tonight, the Celtics are going to have to put up points against the Suns at home to win that game. They obviously have great defense and whatever, but the Suns have a great starting 5 with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. Those guys love to shoot the ball and they can score in bunches, especially if Kevin Durant starts getting going early. So I really like that over 225. That seems like a really good number. Those teams average 239 between each other already. So I think Vegas is accounting for that 14-point difference with a little bit because of Jaylen Brown not playing, and he has been scoring a lot lately. But I believe in Jason Tatum, and he's going to have a lot bigger of a role tonight since he won't be on the floor. So I like that over 225. The other one I also like is the Mavericks and Thunder under 234.5. And the reason why I like that is, like I talked about at the very beginning of the pod today, Luka's not going to play tonight, and he has been the engine for that Mavericks offense, especially for the engine for Kyrie Irving, and helps Kyrie Irving be productive. Since he's not going to be on the floor tonight, 234 is an egregious amount of points. I really like the under in that. Also, the Mavericks, again, are on a back-to-back. They're going to be tired. They're going to have some heavy legs. Because of that, if the Thunder blow them out, and when they probably do, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey, Chet Holmgren, all of their starters are probably going to take a pretty early seat on the bench, just because if they're up big, they don't need to log a lot of minutes as we're getting near to start the NBA playoffs. So I like that Mavericks Thunder under 234.5. And the other one I also do really like that I feel pretty solid about, especially with Joel Embiid being out, and Tyrese Maxey over 2.5 threes. He's been hitting that clip very consistently. He's been hitting at a 60% rate in the last 10 games. I feel really good about that. He's been the engine for that offense ever since Embiid's been down, and he's like Jason Tatum tonight. He's taken on a big role scoring, and he's been shooting the ball really well. And for some riskier picks, a little frisky. I like Lou Gents Dort. Most people just call him Lou because Lou Gents is a kind of a hard name to enunciate sometimes for some people, especially me. I like Lou Dort over 2.5 threes. He's been hitting this clip at about 57 to 62% in the last 15 games. And Vegas keeps giving him plus odds. I don't get it. And the dude is a great three-point shooter. So I like him to hit 3 threes tonight. That feels good. It's at plus 118. So it's a little shisty, but I think there's a lot of value there that you can capitalize on. The other one that I do really like is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander under 31.5 points. He has been the most his points prop line. I think I told you last week has been hitting damn near at about 50%, whether he hits it or he doesn't. I've been taking a little note too. When Vegas has put his points prop at this exact prop of 31.5, it normally doesn't hit. I'm gonna ride that trend again. Huge trends guy. Take me shot SGA under 31.5. It's it's at minus 105, so it's not exact plus money, but it's dang near even. And I feel good about that tonight, especially if the Thunder play the way they should and blow that team out early, and he'll be on the bench, hopefully near the end of the third quarter.
All right. There's a couple risky picks from Willy P. Again, make sure you go follow us on social. You have even more picks every day. It seems Will's putting up those picks. So make sure you take a look, win some money, man. We want everyone to win, dude. We're winning as a family here.
Yeah,
So
I just want people to make more money. The economy sucks. Let's
right?
try and get a side hustle going. This is a good way to do it. I put them on Twitter. I'm 95% of the time will remember to put them also on our Instagram story. So if you don't have a Twitter, go on Instagram, look it up. I mean, it's not hard. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you.
Dude, tax season's coming. You should get some tax refunds going. You put that money
Yeah,
towards it,
come on.
just amplify that. You know what I mean?
Just amplify it.
Just
Yeah,
amplify. That's what we're
just do
doing.
it. If you really want to get risky, get $360 and bet $10 on every underdog in the first 2 days of the tournament. Statistically, you should make money. So I'll leave that with the people, and they do
that as it
what
lies. We'll play that as it lies right there.
Oh yeah.
But we will be back next week. We'll be talking a lot more March Madness, a little bit more in depth
Oh, yeah.
once we know who's playing who. Should be fun. Will and I may even have some brackets filled out by then. So
100%.
we can go through some of those and why and why we're making those choices. So meet us back here next week. We'll probably talk even more NFL, some NBA, and definitely March Madness. We'll see you back.
It was a pleasure.